Hey guys, Loco here. This is gonna be my first non-League of Legends video in a long while, but it's a topic that's popular enough where I feel like there's gonna be a lot of mutual fan bases, and I also am very passionate about this, so here goes nothing. So here's all my problems with Avengers Endgame. For those of you guys that don't know, I am a huge Marvel and a general movie fan. I love Star Wars, I love the Marvel Universe, I love pretty much every big movie franchise. And I had huge hopes for and huge expectations for Avengers Endgame, but after watching the movie, I had a lot of problems with it, and I kind of want to talk about it with you guys. Obviously, spoiler alert, if you have not seen the movie, please click off this video and watch the movie first before you watch this video. And it's gonna be Monday when this video comes out, so I'd imagine most people have seen it over the weekend. So without further ado, let's start. My problems with the Avengers Endgame movie. So first of all, a huge plot point for this movie is time travel. I liked it, and the movie kind of talks you through some of the possible plot holes when you think time travel. They actually talk about certain movies. They talk about Back to the Future and the other movies that had time travel in it, and they pretty much lay down the rules for time travel. And they instantly break the rules. It was like such high stakes. We only have one shot at this. We don't have enough pin particles. And then Tony and Cap goes back or goes to another time in the movie and picks up more pin particles. Like, what the fuck? Like, if it was that easy, then just figure out a point in time where you can go back and pick up multiple pin particles and problem solved. I really did not like that little bit of a loophole that they found, and the fact that they couldn't come to that original solution when they were thinking of time travel is kind of bullshit for me. Also, there's a serious problem at the end of the movie. What happens to the normal people that didn't get dusted in the original snap? So everyone that survived the snap is now 5 years older, and everyone that got dusted that came back didn't age at all. So there's this like weird 5 year gap, you know? So yeah, like when they went back and showed like the high school scene, I'm like, dude, some of these kids aged 5 years and other people just literally came back. So there's gonna be a huge fucking plot hole that Marvel kind of needs to clean up at the end of the movie. I also really did like Thanos and Nebula coming back to the future, or coming to the future and using time travel against the Avengers. It felt very much like Beef Tannen moment from Back to the Future, where the antagonist also has access to time travel and it levels the playing field. It was such a cool usage of time travel. Overall, I was pretty fine with how they did time travel. Anytime you use time travel in a movie or a story, it introduced a bunch of plot holes. I mean, aka Harry Potter with the time turner and shit. But I think MCU did an okay job with it, and overall I was fine with time travel. Now let's get to the 6 OG Avengers and kind of my problems with the storyline they had for them and how I think it could have been so much better. So let's start with the Hulk. So now he's just the Professor Hulk, or the mix between Bruce Banner and the Hulk. It was so random, and we just have to come to terms with it. I think there were so many better ways they could have done it, because they were building up to like the whole him being able to control being the Hulk like throughout the entire Avengers series, and then I felt like they cheapened out at the very last movie, at the very last like payoff, and there was such a very good payoff moment that could have happened. So here's how I would have done it. So Hulk and Banner struggle the whole time like about which one they want to be, and the Hulk just doesn't want to come out, and Banner is just regular Banner throughout the whole movie. And after the whole time heist section of the movie, they come and they have the stone, and they know Natasha is dead, and they need to do the snap to bring back everyone. But no one can do it but Banner due to the gamma rays, which they were explaining. And the Hulk refuses to do it because he's selfish and childish. And Banner and Hulk kind of have an internal dialogue between themselves where they both, at the end of it, agree to do it for Natasha, or it means nothing because Natasha sacrificed herself so they can bring everyone back. And he turns into Professor Hulk, the Banner/Hulk hybrid, to do the snap. It saves Marvel a bunch of money on CG, and also the Hulk gets more character development. Like, it was so simple. Like, you kept pairing up Natasha and the Hulk in the previous movies, and this was such a good character development moment, and they just didn't give it to us, and they spent millions on CG instead. It just did not make sense to me. It was so fucking weird. Now, let's move on to Thor. So, I fucking hated this storyline for Thor, and I thought it was one of the worst storylines for the main 6 Avengers. I fucking hate what they did to Thor. So Thor was such a weird character for Marvel because in the first 2 Thor movies, it was fucking terrible. Like, he wasn't very relatable as a character, and the movie had kind of a serious vibe to it, and no one really liked Thor. So their solution was take away what makes Thor Thor, like take away his hammer, take away his powers, and turn him into a comedic character. And it worked great in Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok was my favorite Thor movie by far. Now, in this movie, in Endgame, his storyline seems so fucking rushed. He goes from like this broken fat dude and right back into strongest Avenger in a matter of few days. It was so fucking quick. Like, that one pep talk with his mom was enough to turn him completely back from like 5 years of deterioration. I cannot believe like they sent the fucking raccoon and the Thor as a duo in the fucking mission. Like, dude, you have the raccoon who no one really knew, and he just literally joined the team, and Thor who's like broken as a person, and you guys just want to send 2 of them to get a stone? Like, please, like, there has to have been a better pairing. Like, they could have sent someone more responsible or split Thor and the raccoon up. I also really hate what they did to him at the end. Like, they basically relegated him to being one of the Guardians of the Galaxy as a comedic character, and I'm really not looking forward to seeing him in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. He just bounces back between like a really serious character and a really funny character too many times, and in a movie like Endgame where the stakes are really high and the movie's really serious, I feel like it doesn't really work. While it worked great in Ragnarok because the overall theme and the overall vibe of that movie was really funny and really humorous and light. So yeah, Thor is like, he's dead to me as a character. I really am not looking forward to seeing him again. Now, we go to Natasha and Clint. Natasha and Clint, their story has to be at least a little bit more human and a little bit more emotional because they are the 2 human characters out of the Avengers cast. Like, out of the 6 Avengers, they're the only 2 that don't have superpowers and that are just normal people. So I like the direction of the story, but the execution was really weird. They literally have Nebula, who knows what the fuck happens when you go to get the Soul Stone. Like, she knows Thanos sacrificed the Green Girl to get the Soul Stone. And I really would have liked the scene where they kind of discuss who's going to sacrifice who. And then they both agree it's going to be Clint who's going to sacrifice himself because he's done so many bad things as Ronin. And like, he's killed a bunch of people. And like, Natasha's like, yeah, we'll sacrifice you. And then inside she's thinking, no, I'm going to sacrifice myself. So it plays out just like in the movie where it looks like Clint is going to kill himself, and then Natasha pulls him back, and then she's the one that ends up dying. But it was just like, so what the fuck? Like, they didn't know that Natasha was gonna, or they didn't know that someone had to die to get the Soul Stone. Like, it was fucking obvious. Like, when they did the whole fucking brainstorming thing, like, Nebula wasn't like, okay, whoever goes to get the Soul Stone, you need, like, one of you guys are gonna have to sacrifice yourself. Like, it was one of the other plot holes that bothered me a little, but overall, Natasha and Clint, I was fine with their storyline. Now, we come to the main cast, like Tony and Captain America, and also Captain Marvel. We'll talk about her a little. So Tony, very, very weird storyline. So he comes back fucking mad. He comes back fucking mad at Steve. He's like fucking pissed at Steve, and he's pissed at everyone. And he disappears to start a family, and he has a family with Pepper. They've had a daughter, like, she's pretty well aged, so they've had a life together. And then all it takes is one talk with Pepper to change his mind and for him to give up everything and get back into like being an Avenger again. Like, you made him have a kid. Like, he had Pepper before. Like, Pepper alone wasn't able to convince him before. and you now have Morgan, the kid, and you can use her as a catalyst to get Tony to change his mind. That would have been such a great moment. Like something about better future for his daughter, like him and his daughter having a talk, like his daughter asking, "Hey dad, like who are all the other guys? Like are they your friends?" Like, and then Tony kind of has to explain to his daughter like how he knows Steve, how he knows Natasha, I guess how he doesn't know the Ant-Man dude. And then what is it? Natasha or his daughter Morgan is like, "I don't worry, Dad. I know you're gonna do the right thing. Like you always do the right thing." And then that would have been great. Like that would have been the payoff moment that I really wanted. Like for Tony, like, and him finally having the daughter and him finally like making a ultimate sacrifice for the better future of his daughter. Like the little picture moment with Spider-Man was nice, but I thought Morgan was such a good plot tool to kind of really convince Tony to change his mind, and they didn't use her, so it was really weird. And also the moment I saw like Thanos' arm kind of fucked up after he did the snap, I knew that Tony was gonna use the stones, because it was kind of a running Easter egg in Marvel Cinematic Universe that one of Tony's arm is kind of fucked. I think it was his right arm that's kind of fucked, where it's always injured. So I thought he was gonna lose an arm. I didn't think he was gonna die, and Tony dying was kind of out of left field for me. Yeah, like I had no idea that they were actually gonna kill Tony, but now that I think back, there were a lot of kind of little Easter eggs and a little clues that there was going to be a second Iron Man, with him having his daughter, with Pepper using the suit, and also that one kid from I think Iron Man 3, the one that kind of helped Tony out in the garage. He was at the funeral, so he's definitely going to be the new Iron Man. Now that I think about it, it was really obvious that Tony was going to die, because they had everything ready. Like they had a succession plan ready, and he did get the job done. So now let's go to Captain Marvel before we hit on Captain America. I love Brie Larson. She is so fucking fiery hot. But I have to say, I fucking hate Captain Marvel as the character. I thought her movie overall, like the Captain Marvel, her standalone film, was kind of weak. And I really did not like her in this film. She is way too fucking powerful. She is so fucking powerful. And she had to be taken out of the movie so many times so the plot could progress without Captain Marvel coming in and being like, "Hey, I'm the solution to the problem." So Captain Marvel is what I would define as a Mary Sue syndrome, and I'll read you guys the Google definition of a Mary Sue syndrome for those of you guys that don't know. So a Mary Sue is an idealized and seemingly perfect fictional character, and that's what Captain Marvel is. She's so perfect. Like she never struggles with anything. Like every time she's on the screen, like she just gets shit done, and she is infallible, and that's really boring as a character that never loses. So I would have been more fine with Captain Marvel if she actually had to overcome stuff, but she was OP from start to finish, and she basically didn't have a flaw. And I think that headbutt moment where Thanos headbutts Captain Marvel and then it just goes doink, it killed Thanos as a serious villain. Overall, I didn't like Thanos as a villain in this movie, and I'll talk about why later in the Thanos section, but oh my god, she was just so fucking boring as a character. And she has such an easy storyline too. The storyline they could have gone with is you can't do things alone. You have to work as a team. Like, and then her realizing like that's what it means to be an Avenger. Now that Tony and Steve are gone, like definitely Captain Marvel is gonna be the new leader of the Avengers, and she doesn't seem like the leader type. She just does things by herself. Like I would have loved if she failed at the start a little, like she fucked up a few times, and then in the end, like everyone does things as a team, and then like she kind of learns the value of teamwork. That would have been a great storyline for her, but they didn't give her that. They were just like, okay, go be Captain Marvel, go destroy everything, go be a fucking god, like, which is really boring. If you have a character this powerful, you have to give them some character flaws. You have to give them some flaws for them to be interesting, and I feel like they didn't do that with Captain Marvel, and I really hope they develop her character later down the line. So now let's go to Steve and Captain America. He used to be my least favorite Marvel character by far. All the things I talked about regarding Captain Marvel, he used to have in his earlier movies. He was so fucking boring. He's this handsome, strong, always do the right thing kind of character. I had nothing I could sympathize with him in his earlier movies. But then Winter Soldier and Civil War happened, and he gained so much layer as a character, and I really grew to appreciate him more and more. He had So many good lines in this movie. The "let's go get this son of a bitch," "I could do this all day," the "America's ass," and the other and then the final one, "Avengers assemble." He had the best lines in this movie by far. And I also really liked him using his brains more and him really developing as a character with like the whole Hail Hydra whenever he's in that elevator scene and the Bucky is still alive, like fucking with his past self. It's just great. It shows his development as a character and him willing to use his brain more. And him picking up Thor's hammer was such a great payoff moment. It was first hinted at during Ultron, and when it finally happened, I was so happy. I saw that moment coming from a mile away, and even though I knew it was coming, the moment still felt so great. So, one thing I really wish they touched on a little bit more was his kind of storyline with Peggy. I wish they showed more of his struggles of not going back to Peggy. When him and Tony were back in the kind of the army base and he sees like he's in Peggy's office, I wish like Peggy catches a glimpse of him and then she's like, "Wait, Steve? Steve?" And then he's like struggling inside. He's like, "Fuck. God damn it, I have a job to finish." And then he leaves Peggy. Cause at the end, him staying behind in the past to spend his life with Peggy is very, very unlike Steve. It's not like him to self-indulge, and it is very much like himself to just get the job done no matter the cost, like to do what's right. And for him to finally self-indulge at the end shows like a change of character or a change of, "I did my job, I can finally rest now." And I wish he had a line with Tony at the end. So much of Avengers has been about Tony and Steve's conflict and also them working together. And the fact that Steve wasn't there when Tony died and Tony had like a line like, "Steve, go be with her." Like that would have been perfect and it would have made so much sense for why Steve stayed. I mean, he hints at it at the end where he's like, "Yeah, I kind of wanted to do that life thing that Tony talked about," but him and Tony not getting a final moment was so fucking weird for me. Also, Natasha is totally coming back. So he had to go back in time and give off all the stones where they belong, right? Who the fuck is he gonna give the soul stone to? He's gonna give it to the Red Skull, who he has a history with, and the whole thing is soul for a soul, so when he gives the soul stone back, he's gonna get Natasha back. I am 90% sure Natasha is gonna come back from Captain America giving the soul stone back to the Red Skull. Alright, now let's go to Thanos. Thanos was an amazing villain in Infinity War. He was one of the best villains of MCU along with Loki and Killmonger, and in this movie they undid everything that makes him great. So for me, what makes a great villain is someone you can sympathize with and forces you to ask yourself the question, are they really the villain when you look from their point of view? Like that's what makes a villain a great villain. So the original OG Thanos backstory is his planet got fucked from overpopulation and he wanted to save rest of the universe from the same fate. That's why he goes around world by world wiping out half the population to save that world from the same fate as his planet. So the OG Thanos, after completing his job, he destroys the stones since he has no use for them anymore. Like he did his job, like it completed his storyline, and it was such a great ending to the OG Thanos. So the new Thanos, or the past Thanos, is so angry after watching himself die that he just changes his point of view on everything and he turns into this cartoon villain. Like the argument that the half the population that's left can't go living and like have a good life knowing that the other half died is not good enough to just this character assassination of Thanos. Like, oh my fucking god, he literally turned into a cartoon villain. He's like, "I'm gonna destroy the whole world, I will kill everything." Like everything that made the original Thanos great just died with the original Thanos when he died in like the first third of the movie. Like, oh my fucking god, I really hated the new Thanos. Oh, what can I say? You're a great villain in Infinity War, now you're just a cartoon villain in Endgame. God, man, I really did not like what they did with him. So, I mean, I ranted a lot about why I hated the movie, but overall, I liked the movie. There were so many amazing payoff moments that it took like years to get to this moment, and it took so many movies, and Marvel's been teasing out so many of these payoff moments, and for them to all happen in this one movie was really great. It kind of really reminds me of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 with all the payoff moment and kind of the closure to the story. It doesn't top Black Panther or Civil War as my favorite movie, and I still think Infinity War is actually the better movie than Endgame. I really liked Infinity War, so it doesn't even crack top 3 for me. But overall, it's still an amazing movie, and it's probably somewhere in my top 5 for MCU and Marvel movies. So hopefully, you guys enjoyed this kind of like review and rant on Avengers Endgame, and if you like the more non-esports content from me, please let me know down in the comments. I don't know how you guys felt about it. I don't know if I need to make a second channel for this, but I felt very, very strongly about this movie, and I really wanted to make a video on it. And remember, I'm not crazy, I'm just Loco. Bye!